In this quick lesson, I'm going to talk to you about the general tab of the text tools in the Design Center. So here we have some regular text examples. We'll just zoom in on these so we can have a closer look at them. You can see here we have all these different types of text. When I select this one here, which is bold, you can see that in this drop-down it tells us what the font is and I can change that. And it also matches this up here in the drop-down, that font selector. And if I change it to say italic, you can see that it automatically changes and it matches up here in the second row of tools. And if I then change it to say, for example, bold italic, it matches that up there as well, and the font on the actual designing area changes as well. So all these tools are working together. Here's an example of superscript, and you can see in this drop down here, which is the character style, we can set things like superscript or subscript. We can also set small caps, and we can also set it to all caps. So this sets how the actual text is drawn out on the screen. If I wanted to say change that to all caps, I'd simply select it and I'd click on all caps, and as you can see it automatically changes it. And I can set it back to say small caps like that. So there's quite some useful tools there when it comes to different ways of setting out your fonts and your text. Now the other thing too is typographic size. Typographic size is the size of the font set by the typographer, the person who is designing the font. The physical size is the actual size of the capital T or capital H. And you can see in here, these are the sizes here. And as we click on these up and down arrows, our font will increase in size depending on what the measurement is in these particular boxes here. We can also set the width of the font. That's sort of like stretching it. So as I increase this, the font effectively stretches out like so. So you can set that to a particular percentage. And you can see you've got a standard italic amount, but you can actually set that by using the SKU here. So you can make your own italicized fonts, back slanted or forward slanted. It's totally up to you. So that's how we set our typeface and our font options using these particular areas here. Now we'll go to these layout options. I'm going to show you a text box here, which is basically a container that holds the text, and it allows text wrapping, and you can see tracking and kerning and all sorts of things. So you can see when I set this to be left justified, the text aligns to the left. If I set it to center, it all centers, and of course when I set it to right, it all aligns to the right, to the boundary of the text box, as you can see. Flush justify makes the edge of the text touch the edge of the text box, and force actually makes the entire lot of text force to the edge of the text box, so the last line will always stretch out like that. And when you set it to none, it's basically the same as block left. So that's how the text justification works. Now tracking. I'll just make this text a bit smaller so I can show you what tracking means. As I increase tracking, you can see the spacing between the characters actually increases. So that's what tracking does. It actually increases the spaces between each individual character. So when it's set to 0, it's pretty much normal. Let's make this a little bit bigger here and I'll show you kerning. That's the space between the individual characters. We're not talking about all the characters. We're just talking about the ones we've got selected. So if I click in here, I can actually adjust the space between these two letters, as you can see here, and that's what kerning does. And if I want to actually just adjust, say, this one word, then I can select the word itself and I can adjust its kerning. This is separate to any of the other text inside this text box, so I can kern in between individual letters, or I can kern entire words or entire lines of text. And finally, here we've got the line space. So we can increase the line space. That's the space between each line, and we can then decrease it back down if we want to. We can also set the line space numerically using this tool here. So that's how we adjust our layout options. Now there's some more advanced tools for paragraph text or text boxes in this tab here, but you can watch that lesson independently. So that's how we use those tools, and that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.